What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. Back with you talking another week of fantasy golf here with the Rocket Mortgage Classic on tap for this end of June, first weekend into July, and of course heading into a holiday week. So it's not going to be the most exciting golf tournament, but still plenty of money to be won in DFS and sports betting. And we will break it down for you here over the next 45 minutes or so. I am Justin Van Zuiden, a.k.a. STL Cardinals 84. I've got Mr. Derek Farnsworth, a.k.a. Notorious, alongside Noto. What's going on? How you been?
Been good. And Keegan Bradley, 6-time PGA Tour winner. Pretty crazy that he's won that many times. And he's won some pretty big events, too. He's won a major, won a playoff event, won WGC, I believe, won the Zozo in the fall. So, yeah, interesting to see if he makes the Ryder Cup team. A lot of guys are making a strong push. And, you know, somebody like Tony Finau might be left out of the equation. But still plenty of time for that.
Yeah, it's crazy how stacked that lineup can be, and whoever eventually gets left out, there will be hand wringing, and just people will be upset about it. But what are you going to do? You can't please everybody. But really impressive performance there from Keegan. He got a little shaky on the back nine, pulling it's never safe with Keegan Bradley. It was pretty wild to see. He was 8 shots ahead of Patrick Cantlay, and in a 3-hole stretch that went from 8 to 2 because Cantlay made 3 birdies in a row and Keegan made 3 bogeys in a row. Steadied the ship from there, was able to get out with the win. And of course, event, we talked about it last week. Keegan always tends to play better in the events that are up in the Northeast where he's from. So obviously not from the specific area where the tournament was played, but lots of locals are fans of his, and you could tell that the crowd was rooting him on. So kudos to Keegan, even though it wasn't the most exciting, finishes there with him getting a comfortable lead there over Reeve and the others at the start of Sunday's round. Was still nice to see him pick up that W on a course that, we talked about this, that they just can't make the U.S. Open difficult, to where even par is a winning score anymore. And we saw this last week with a course that, it's not like it's ever played difficult, but the guys were just tearing it apart. And I mean, Keegan got to 26 under there at one point before he made those couple of bogeys. And you had other guys there in that 18, 19, 20 under par range. And it wasn't just a couple guys, it was lots of guys there in that mix. So, I mean, the golfers with the equipment and the golf balls and, how strong these guys are now. It's tough to golfer proof a course anymore.
Yeah, Rory hit on that in his post-round interview, saying, the technology has outpaced, this course. And it seems like that's happening to a lot of courses on the PGA Tour. So the rollback, if it eventually happens, will certainly be interesting. And, yeah, you mentioned, Cantlay cut it to 2 there. He missed a 7-footer and then a 5-footer and then a 7-footer. On his last 3 holes. So that could have been, it could have put a lot more pressure on Keegan there at the end. Scheffler, just another incredible finish. If he would have done a little bit better on Friday, I think he shot even par. He probably would have walked away with the win. But, yeah, top 12 finish in every event since October. Pretty impressive on his end. And Utah boy, Zach Blair, coming T2. I think he's on a medical exemption right now, and he's about ready to lock up his card for next year. So that was kind of cool to see. Good to see, Chez back in the mix. A lot of people were having fun with, him at the Cheesesteak Factory the night before, Cheesesteak Chez. So, yeah, I mean, it was an interesting leaderboard, kind of a lackluster Sunday. But overall, I like the course. Unfortunately, it's just getting a little too easy for all these guys.
Yeah, and speaking of Zach Blair, I mean, and we're going to get into this, but we had a major in LA, and then we had an elevated event in Connecticut. And now we've got, I mean, as much as I love the John Deere Classic next week, we've got 2 events that nobody really cares about before the Open Championship. So you are not going to see a strong field this week. You are not going to see a strong field next week. And if you are Zach Blair, you absolutely pick up these starts these next 2 weeks. To try to get the points you need to fulfill that medical exemption and keep your card. So, and he is in the field this week as well. But it's going to be a couple of weeks where we don't see that strong a field. Next week will be worse. But this week is not going to be as strong as maybe what we're used to seeing here, just because of the way the calendar has played out and it being placed right after an elevated event. So, I mean, and we can circle back and talk about other things from last week, but this is another course this week. I mean, you've got one of the easiest courses on tour. There's almost no trouble here. Super low double bogey rate. The course is flat. They got a bunch of rain the last couple days. I mean, what's somebody going to shoot this week? Like 32 under par? Or what the heck's the score going to get to here in Detroit this week?
Yeah, I mean, the field's not as strong as last week, but it sounds like it has been raining in the area, so it's going to be soft. And, yeah, we've seen 3 of the 4 winners be at least 20 under par. So it's going to be another low-scoring week. And the thing with these birdie fests is you just can't afford to have one mediocre round. Like in a major, you can play bad one day and still be in the mix. You can make up a lot of ground, and you just can't do that in these birdie fests. You just have to shoot like 65 every day. And if your guy shoots 3 under, you're probably moving down the leaderboard. It's just it's a weird dichotomy there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these, with how far everybody hits it now, they just turn into wedge fests and putting contests. And so if you're like Noto and I Noto tweeted this out earlier today, if it's going to be a putting contest, don't pick any of the guys we like to usually play this week. But we'll get into that in just a second. Anything else from last week's tournament? Again, Keegan Bradley ended up coming out on top. You had a big group there: Zach Blair, Scheffler, Cantlay, Brian Harmon, another really strong finish at an event that he always seems to play well at. Rory made a charge on Sunday. Denny McCarthy was in the mix again as well. Had Minwoo Lee with his second straight top 10 finish. Corey Connors played well, and then Justin Thomas rebounding from a slow start and maybe finding a little bit with his game, which was encouraging for him. And I mean, it was just another tournament where the cream rises to the top. You had Fowler continuing his form in there, Matsuyama inside the top 15 as well. So ended up being a pretty good leaderboard, even though, Keegan was kind of in control by the back 9 on Sunday.
Yep, you mentioned Ricky playing well. Career low round, 60 for Ricky on Saturday, and still finished, outside of the top 10. So just goes to show how low the scoring was. But yeah, let's turn to this week and say the exact same things about Detroit Golf Club.
Yeah, I mean, I just find this event and this course boring. I don't know. I mean, I don't necessarily hate the birdie fests in general, but there's just no trouble here. And, guys are going to be able to pound it out there and hit it, 130, 120 yards, hit a wedge into the green and see who can make the most 12 footers. To me, I guess the one angle you can take with that is it brings variance into play a little bit more, with who's going to get hot with the putter. Maybe you avoid a little bit more chalk here. I don't know. I mean, the course itself is it's just another easy par 72 on the PGA Tour. And I mean, especially on a soft, wet golf course, what defense is this course going to have for these guys?
Yeah, it's not going to have much. I was looking at the stats from last year. The average driving distance was 302 yards, so 10 yards further than your typical average driving distance of an event. The fairways here are pretty wide. The missed fairway penalty is basically non-existent. At least it's a lot lower than tour average. And even though the greens are small, they're really easy to hit. So you mentioned the putting angle a minute ago. Shout out to Ron Kloss for that stat. He said every finisher in the top 10 in all 4 years of this event has gained strokes putting. So you're probably not going to get it done with just ball striking. And he said 36 of the 40 top 10 finishers gained at least 2 strokes putting that week. So it's going to be a putting contest. It's going to be, where you can bomb it out there. You don't necessarily have to be a bomber. There's been some shorter hitters play well here, but going to have to make a lot of birdies, going to have to make a lot of putts, and should be a lot of wedges as well, similar to last week.
All right. And just try to get as many of those golfers through the cut as you can, because the 6-6 lineup will have tremendous importance this week with the scoring conditions. So it'll be tough for a 5 of 6 even with some top finishers to beat out those 6-6 lineups this week, because a lot of fantasy points should be scored here. So I mentioned the weaker field. Obviously, after 2 really strong events in a row, you understandably have a lot of guys who are skipping this week and probably next week as well. And so there's just not the same firepower at the top. With it comes a little bit less in terms of high-end salary. We don't have anybody priced above 11,000 on DraftKings this week. We've got Finau, Morikawa, Fowler, Homa, and Thomas as your top 5 guys in the field. You can tell that Justin Thomas is really trying to, find his game since he's teeing it up again this week. But, not the same. And all credit to Fowler, for what he's done this year. I'm not discounting that at all, but it's been quite some time since we've seen Fowler as the 3rd most expensive golfer in a field. So what do you make of this top group? Is there enough value to where you want to start at the top? Do we go a little bit more balanced simply because of the unpredictability? What are you doing here?
Yeah, I don't feel as great about this top range as I typically would with, Scotty Scheffler in the field or something like that. We talked about putting being important, and 3 of these guys have struggled mightily with the flat stick. Tony Finau, his last 5 events, -3, -3, -5, -5, -2 strokes putting. So his putter's ice cold. Morikawa for a long time has been, struggling with the putter, struggling with the short game. And once again, man, I was on Morikawa last week. What happened? He missed the cut. So I'm not going to play Morikawa this week. So you can probably
hop on.
You can feel good about it. And then you have, JT, really good tee to green. You just always question that putter. So for me, it's hard not to like Ricky. He's been playing great all season. We've talked about it a lot on the show that we want him to go to one of these non-elevated events, and maybe he can win one of these. And this feels like a perfect spot for him. He's made 3 or 4 cuts here, so he's familiar with the course. The best putter by far of anyone in the 10K range, especially from 5 to 20 feet. So, yeah, I like Ricky quite a bit. No issue with Homa if he's going to be low owned. We don't have ownership just yet, but don't think a lot of people will go there given his recent form.
I love Homa this week. I think if you want to take the angle of, going with the unpredictable here, everybody had the major circled for him. He couldn't get it done yet again in a major. Missed the cut last week, but it was on the number. He did shoot a 65 on Friday, bogey-free round with 5 birdies. So, that's nothing to be super concerned about by missing the cut when shooting 3 under for 2 rounds. So, I think Homa is the play in terms of assuming that ownership stays down. He has finished top 25 here each of the last 2 years. So that's a little bit of a feather in the cap. Obviously, Finau is the defending champ, but and I've got no problem with him or really with any of these guys. I won't be on Morikawa either. But in terms of GPPs, assuming the ownership is generally in the single digits on DraftKings, I like Homa a good bit this week. So, all right, let's go ahead and move down into the 9K range. You've got Tom Kim in here, finished 7th a year ago. Cameron Davis won this event a couple years ago. We've got Matsuyama coming off a decent performance. Sungjae Im coming off a decent performance last week. Keegan Bradley, of course, coming off a win. So we've at least got some form here with these 9K golfers, even though it's not what our usual 9K range is. What are you looking at in this range?
Yeah, it was nice to see Sungjae play a little bit better last week. I know he kind of fell apart on the weekend, but still top 30 after the form he had been in. He's one of those guys that can gain strokes in all facets of his game. He's played here 3 times, never missed the cut. I think it's a really good price point for him and his talent. Also, like Tom Kim, is one of the few places where he actually has course history. Finished top 10 here last year. He's been really good with the ball striking in the last couple of events, including the U.S. Open and then last week as well. Hideki's been playing great. Tee to green monster. You always question the putter, but his ball striking can carry him. Then for tournaments, I kind of like Harris English. He was kind of popular last week. Now it kind of seems like nobody wants to play him. He's kind of gone back and forth with a good week, bad week, good week, bad week for 6 events straight now. So one of the best putters in the field. Pretty good iron player at times, can get really streaky with the irons. But with these wide fairways, he's not a very accurate driver of the ball. I think that's going to help him a little bit. So I like English in tournaments, and then probably going to be lower on the other guys in the range.
All right. I don't have a strong lean towards a lot of guys in this range, but I do like him. I just think when you consider the overall talent level, where he's priced, I think, and in our projections, and I see in your model as well, grades out pretty good on a point per dollar basis. Has one of the best optimal ratings in our lineup HQ tool. So yeah, if he can just string together 4 rounds, make some putts, I think it's a good fit for him. And I don't love a lot of the other guys in this range. Davis, even with the course history, a little too inconsistent of late for me. Don't really want to target Bradley off of what he was really excited about winning up in the Northeast, and I'm sure had a lot of friends and family celebrating with him. So the English call is fine. I'm not usually a guy that plays him, so at that salary, I'll probably leave him there. But I'm not going to fault anybody that decides to play him. So Sung Jae will be my primary option in that range. And I'll probably dip down into the 8Ks for a few of my next options. Weird to see Jaeger all the way up there, but Jaeger is at 8,900. Harmon, again, coming off a strong week. He's turned the ball striking around over the last couple months. Ludwig Aberg is going to get a lot of buzz this week as kind of one of the up-and-coming guys that, maybe in a weak field. I've seen a lot of people chatting about him on social media today already. You got Smalley, Kirk, Hoagie in this 8K range. Anybody that stands out to you in here?
Yeah, Aberg's a tricky one for me. It just seems like there's so many of these top prospects that come in and they struggle right away, and everybody's on them. Everyone wants to bet them. Everyone wants to play them. And more often than not, they kind of take some time. So I'm fine, if he proves me wrong and, comes out and wins or something like that. I'm fine being underweight. I mean, his best finish so far is T24. He does have 3 top 25s in his last 4 starts, but I know the talent's there. I just want to see it a little bit first before I start playing him at this price point. I like the lower range. Benyon, one of the longest hitters in the field. He's been very good tee to green. You always kind of question the putter, but he's been a little bit better, in 2023 than he has been in the past. So I'll go to him at 8,200, and then I do like Jaeger a little bit, 8,900. Another guy that more of a ball striker than a putter, but he can certainly get hot with the ball strike and get hot with the irons. And the model likes Chris Kirk. He's been pretty bad over the last few weeks, but the model always likes Chris Kirk. And, he's one of those guys that can do everything a little bit, better than average. So he makes some sense. He's got 3 top 25s here in the last 3 years.
Yeah, give me Kirk in this range. I like the model call there. It's not a difficult course. It's not necessarily a course where you have to be long. Just place it right. Don't make any mistakes. Make some putts. And you mentioned it, 21st, 12th, and 17th, the last 3 editions of this tournament. So, give me steady Kirk in here, especially since there's a lot of inconsistent guys. Hoagie's missed the cut the last 2 times he's played here. Straka's missed the cut the last 2 times he's played here. Benyon on a course where you're probably going to need to make some putts. Never the guy I want to be targeting. So, give me Kirk at 8,500. I do kind of like Aberg for the DFS side. I'm not going to be one of those that's betting him to win just yet, but I do think this is a place where maybe he can sneak into contention for the first time. So, anything else above 8,000 for you?
What about Eckroat? 5 straight top 30s. He's doing everything well.
Yeah, he's right there at 8,000. In fact, I think I might have tagged him too right before we went on the show. So, yeah, I like him at 8K. He's another guy that's probably going to gain steam. I think his odds have kind of already started to dip a bit. Haven't compared him to a lot of the others in this range just yet. But Eckroat at 8,000, and then I've seen some folks that are playing the short game angle. Justin Suh has been the best putter in the field over the last 36 rounds. He's not doing a whole lot else very well, but if you want to just play the pure short game angle, he's there at 7,900. So anything else? Otherwise, you can start dipping into the mid to upper 7Ks if you like anything in there.
Yeah, that's probably it for me in the 8s. But I mean, Straka is a guy that just randomly pops. So if you want to play him in tournaments, he does have a couple top 11 finishes here. He's at 8,300. Might be a nice pivot off of Eckroat and some of the other guys in that range, Aberg. In the 7s, it does seem like a good setup for Taylor Moore. He's kind of been struggling a little bit recently, but he was T6 here last year. Good putter, good off the tee. I think that off the tee putting combo works well here. We saw Bryson do that the year he won. Other than that, going down a little bit, the model likes Brandon Wu. He's been playing some volatile golf, but when he does show up, he makes a lot of birdies and he finishes pretty high. He made the cut here last year. Then I'll go back to Mark Hubbard at 7,500. He was one of the more popular value plays of the week last week and ended up missing the cut. I believe it was on the number. It finished 83rd. So he's a guy that's good with the putter. The irons have been top 10 in this field, actually top 5 in this field this year. So I like that angle quite a bit.
This is a tough range. It's where you kind of start to see the effects of the thinner field a little bit. But Zuidenhout at 7,700 is the one guy that I don't mind. I think you look at his all-around skill set. Again, last 36 rounds, 5th in this field in approach and 17th in putting. So if you're playing the second shot and make some putts game, he's not as good off the tee. But if you're not into the bomber angle, I think Zuidenhout at 7,700 is probably my favorite in this range. If you look at that overall, all those overall statistical metrics, Hubbard is probably the one that does stand out as well. But this is potentially a range where you could just go for a dark horse or just a guy that not a lot of people are going to be thinking of, but maybe we've seen some upside at times, like a Patrick Rogers or something like that. I mean, nothing's really crazy in this range. Like Ryan Palmer is 5th in the field in ball striking. Just hasn't, he has been horrible with the putter this summer. So all in whatever angles you want to take, you're not going to find the perfect golfer down here in a weaker field event. But again, I think this is an event where if you want to just fade the chalk from a game theory perspective, you can certainly target some of these guys that have shown some ceiling before, but maybe you're only going to be, 3, 4, 5% owned this week. All right.
Gordon Sargent. He might be able to play the Bryson angle.
Where's his
75?
Says, yeah, okay, there he is, right there at 75. Again, I don't think anything is crazy, and we don't have a lot of statistical data here for him, of course, on the PGA Tour. But yeah, I mean, if some guy is just going to bomb and gouge the golf course, you just got to make enough putts, and you're not really going to hit it into a world of trouble around here. So why not take some shots? What else you like in the bottom part of the 7K range here?
The model likes Thomas Dietrich quite a bit. He's a guy that pretty long off the tee, pretty decent putting metrics as well. He hasn't played here before, but he's only 7,400. Brendan Todd let me down last week. I think he missed 2 7-footers in a row to miss the cut on the number. That was kind of painful, but if you just want a putter angle, he's kind of one of the better guys in the field. And we all got to get your take on Doug Gim. He's back. He's playing well. 4 straight top 30s. What are you doing?
That Doug Gim can't putt, so that worries me with him. But the putting has been. I mean, it's been a little better. Still below field average, pretty much every event. But yeah, he's not. I think he's playable this week for the first time in a while, for me. So yeah, he'll probably end up making the pool just because I'm a fan. I don't know if I can just endorse him, and say, hey, you got to go out and get him. But I don't think you're crazy if you play him this week.
Yeah, Adam in the chat, Rogers withdraw.
That's right. Sorry, I missed it. That was this morning, and I forgot to note that down.
No worries. And Hayden Buckley was the other one. I do wish Rogers was in the field. Seems like a great course fit for him. But, yeah, so anyone else in the low 7s that you like?
Not really. I mean, again, you can sprinkle some of these guys in the pool. I'm not going back to Reeve this week. I do think Palmer is interesting. I mentioned him just a minute ago. I mean, I've seen some people just going full bomber angle and going for like a Luke List this week, but I don't know. I just don't think I can do that. Again, you're going to have to make some putts here, and it's just not going to be him. Like, I've played Will Gordon a lot before. Maybe he ends up in there. Batia's got some talent, but Carson Young is the one guy that'll just keep going back to. He hasn't let me down yet. Not going to worry about a miscut at the U.S. Open. T15 again last week. So Carson Young at 7K, he's my guy.
Why isn't he more expensive now?
I don't know, but he's always, he got a little bit of buzz maybe 3 weeks ago. But I mean, in all these just regular events, he's been cranking out 15th, 25th, 30th, and he's like 7K every week. Like, and for him to be 7K like last week made sense in the field we had, but for him to be 7K in this field, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and if you look at his stats, his weakness is around the green, and that just really doesn't matter in a birdie fest. The greens are easy to hit, and scrambling success rate's really high at this course. So I think he's a great fit. Also like Harry Hall, very good putter. You know, the iron play can be hit or miss, but he's showing up on a couple leaderboards. Mr. Gerg's asking, is Gim a better play than Yeager this week? I'll say no, never. What about you?
He's also $1,500 cheaper, though. You get a Gim discount. Not in a vacuum, no, but the salary savings, you know, sometimes that discounted vacuum cleaner can get it done just the same.
Okay, here's another one from Mr. Gerg. Is Carson the better young over Cam?
Ooh, maybe in the long. I mean, Cam has just fallen hard, and I don't know. I don't know what the story. I haven't played Cameron Young in a long time, so I've not been burned by that sinking ship. But it surprises me a bit. I mean, even on some of the courses where you'd think he'd play well, he really hasn't lately. So.
One other name above 7K. He got some steam last week, largely thanks to myself and Matt on this show. CT Pan, I think he was almost dead last in the field after a couple top fives in a row. I think you go back to him. If you did play him last week, you know, it's a good spot to hop back on it, you know, 1/8 of the ownership.
And nobody's going to be interested in boarding that ship again. I don't have hardly anybody. Like Young at 7K exactly is probably as deep as I'm comfortable going. I mean, I scrolled through the sixes. I know we talked about Blair at the top of the show. Certainly we know the motivation is there for him to try to keep his cards. So I think that's interesting. I think you brought up Aaron Baddeley a couple weeks ago. I don't know. I can see the case for Blair in here, but I don't love a whole lot under 7K. Yet it's still an event where maybe you want to take some chances. So is there anything you like down here or are stomaching in a large field GPP?
Well, Kevin Roy's back in our life. He's been a model favorite for quite some time. Really good off the tee and really good approach, and everything else is pretty bad. But don't mind taking a shot on him at 6,100. Augusto Nunez has been, you know, another guy that's been popping in the model the last few weaker field events. He's been playing okay. He's been making a lot of cuts, but not a ton of upside. Ben Martin, he's okay. That's probably it for me, though.
Yeah, Martin crossed my radar as well. Don't mind throwing him in the player pool for some larger field GPPs. But yeah, that's about it for me as well. All right. We haven't done a snake draft in a few weeks. You want to try to swing one tonight?
Yeah. Maybe we get the chat. Say +1 if you would like to join, just to get a gauge of how many we can get going. So if you're in the chat,
I get the feeling we might have a 6-man tonight with the strength of this field, but I'll pop open DraftKings and then we'll load it up here.
All right, we got one. So that's 3. All right, we got another one.
All right, let's go for the $5 6-man on DraftKings. It's 1 out of 6 right now, so
is there anybody
would be
12-man yet?
What's that?
Is there anybody sitting in the 12-man?
Oh, you want to give it a shot? Usually we get to like 8 or 9 and then we get stuck.
I'm just wondering if only one person. Okay, yeah, let's do the 6.
Yeah, let's do the 6. All right, so that's at 4 of 6 now, and hopefully that'll zoom up real quick, and we'll be able to get through. It'd be a tough week to get to 12-man. It'd be pretty.
Yeah, I wanted a deep dive. That's the best.
Pretty deep dive this week. All right, so we're doing a $5 6-man draft. I will pop open the screen share once that gets. If I do it too soon, it messes up the timer on the thing, so I'll wait till it fills, and then I'll take that over here in a moment.
Should we sign off on the podcast feed?
Yeah, absolutely. I forgot to do that, I think, the last time we did this. So, yes, if you are watching us on the podcast feed and you do not want to sit through the little bit of dead air in the live snake draft, feel free to hop off. And, of course, we thank you, as always, for listening. Drop the video if you get a chance, a thumbs up on the YouTube if you're on there and you're exiting. We appreciate that very much. Help us beat those YouTube algorithms. But for those of you that want to stick around, we'll do a snake draft here. Otherwise, we bid you adieu, and we will see you back here next week. All right, so we have filled her up. Gas Man, a regular. Let's see. A couple I'm not familiar with. Snisby. Not sure who that is. If you're in the chat, welcome. PL Irish.
Don Yeezy's asking what tournament it is. It's the Rocket Mortgage Classic.
It's the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. And the most, you'll forget the name, you'll forget the course because it's very forgettable. But that's just me being biased.
Yeah, shout out to Don Yeezy. He's always watching RG shows.
He's always checking us out. Thank you, sir. All right, we are filled up. We are starting in 40 seconds. Yes. For some reason, it just took me to the same draft that I was on. And then I will share my screen.
I saw you venting about the Cardinals the other day. They came back and won, though, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of rooting, like at this point, I'm kind of rooting for the whole thing to burn down so that something gets done. Like the front office is just.
Oh, Don Yeezy was asking about which snake draft it was. Sorry.
Oh, well, it's full now.
Already filled it. Next week, hop on.
This thing just does not like me trying to share my screen. All right, let's try again. There we go. Some more Morikawa goes first this week. Yeah, I can take or leave the top pick this week. Fine picking last.
All right, Sniz. Oh, took Ricky. All right, guess I got to go with what we were saying. Homa and Ricky.
Like the call on Homa this week.
This is where Finau outdueled, was it Pendrith? Was that this event last year?
Yes, I think so. I know he ended up winning. I just couldn't remember who was competing with him there at the end.
Mr. Gerg's asking, so many great courses in the country. Why does the PGA keep going to these easy birdie fest courses? I think a lot goes into that, but they have a deal with all the TPC courses, number one, and number two, it doesn't seem like a lot of the best courses want to host, PGA Tour events.
Yeah,
it's kind of the gist that I get from it, based on a bunch of stuff I've listened to. But yeah, it'd be nice to get some tougher courses on tour. Or some different courses. Everything's a tree-lined parklands.
Right. Yeah, something just a little different from what we see. All right, I went with Tom Kim and Sung Jae at the turn there for the South Korea connection. So
I like that.
We'll roll it back here in round 2. Yeah, I don't know, if you mentioned me tweeting about the Cardinals. I'm not the race for biggest disappointment in the league this year. I mean, to me, it would be between the Cardinals, who are 32 and 45, the Mets, who are 35 and 42 with a whatever $1 million payroll, and the Padres, who are 37 and 41. If you would have told people at the beginning of the year, right now, the 3 National League wildcards would be the Marlins and the Giants and the Diamondbacks, and that the Cardinals, the Mets, and the Padres would all be out of the playoffs, I think people would have looked at it there like you're crazy. All right.
Okay, sorry, I got sidetracked. Smokey CA was saying Finau beat Cam Young, but I'm saying he beat Pendrith.
Yeah, it was Finau won at 26 under. Young, Pendrith, and Cantlay all tied for second.
Okay. So we're both right.
Pendrith faded on Sunday. It was Finau and Pendrith in this final group. Cantlay and Cam Young caught him up. Yep, both correct. All right. Rolling through the end of round 3 here. All right, it's going to be back to me. And wow, we've lost a lot of golfers off the board. I don't really like this range that it got back to me with here. I will go Justin Suh. Maybe he can find something other than the putter this week. And I do like Bazootenhout as well. No, got Jaeger.
Got Jaeger. Sorry, Mr. Gerg. I don't know if he's in this one.
Yeah, he's not, I don't think. Pull up the draft board there. You can see what everybody has so far.
We didn't talk about Nikolai Højgaard.
He just got in the field, right? Was he one of the late ads?
I don't know. He's in the pool already.
Maybe he was a Sunday night ad.
Yeah.
Before they released the salaries. There's just been a few changes this week. I forgot Rogers from this morning. So going to be a little bit the next couple of weeks here with field changes and shifting.
And Bo Hossler, he can get it out there.
We're not in Texas, though.
That's true. Bomber putter, though. He's been pretty bad here. It's funny, when we do these snake drafts, I always see guys that I didn't even know.
Well, it's because we get deeper into those 7Ks and 6Ks and not guys that you didn't necessarily need to target for DFS, but it's a good exercise to catch guys you might have missed. So who wins the Open Championship this year? If you're throwing a bet down right now.
The only bet I've made was Cam Smith, and that was a couple months ago.
So I will presume maybe his odds have probably moved a little better since then.
But yeah, that's going to be a fun one. And then after that, it's going to be slow for the old golf world. I guess the playoffs are after that, but
yeah, and then whatever they're doing during the fall, like, does anybody even really know how that's going to go yet? I mean, it's just a bunch of no-cut events, right?
I guess. Yeah, nobody knows anything, really. Like, we've got no details about the merger.
It's all up in the air.
All right. Let's go with Mark Hubbard.
Goes Ches. See if he can bounce back after last week. Here's what I'm going to do just to get my sweat. I'll take Doug Gim in the snake draft.
There you go.
And I'll take Sargent in the snake draft. Let's go for broke here this week. It got lost in the shuffle because we didn't do one last week when Matt was on, but I did cash again in the U.S. Open one. I snuck in the final cash spot, so I'm rolling now. I'm probably only like minus 50% ROI on these now. Catching you.
All right, still got 2 picks. Let's go. Oh, Sam Stevens. How much is he on DraftKings?
Yeah, he's fairly cheap. I
talked about him a lot.
73, I think. No, I don't think we did. Yeah, 7,300. Been playing pretty well. I wrote him up a couple weeks ago. I don't think that's a terrible play. Let's board back there.
This feels like a Cam Champ course.
Bomb it out there and miss a bunch of putts. Put him in the lineup with Luke List and
a couple top 20s here. Don't hate it.
Does he? Were those his last 2 top 20s? Last couple top 20s?
Probably. He was 20th last year and then basically dead last year before and then 12th. So.
All right, into the final.
Yeah, remember this was the event where Bryson broke the strokes gain, how they categorized the approach because he was driving
hitting his tee shots too far.
Yeah, he was like 40 yards out on all of his approach shots, and they were registering around the green or something.
I remember that.
All right, I'm going to Champ, taking a shot.
have to go this low here, but it's already my turn. I'm sitting here just starring, guys. All right, Ryan Palmer, last pick. I've got the old risk reward back end of the draft here with Palmer and Sargent and Gim. So, all right, there's the draft boards for this week. Noto's got Homa, English, Yeager, Straka, Hubbard, Stevens, Champ. I've got Kim, Sa, Bazudenhout, Kim, and Gim on the same squad here. Sargent and Palmer, and we look forward to seeing how this week plays out. Again, not the most exciting event or course, but hey, if you get some 6-6 lineups and win a bunch of money, it doesn't matter what tournament it is. I mean, you still got $200K to first here on DraftKings this week. So if you win $200K, it doesn't suck no matter what the tournament is. Yep. So until next week, and I believe, Noto, you're going to be out next week, I think.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Doing holiday traveling, or got some plans?
Yeah, we always go to a small town my grandma lives in for the 4th. So a lot of fun. They don't really have service down there.
Yeah, well, enjoy some time away. It's always needed at some point during the summer. So enjoy that. Our oldest son is turning 13. Hard to believe. 13 this weekend.
Crazy.
So on the 3rd, we're doing we're renting like one of those big jumbo water slide things, and they come over and set it up, and then we'll have the neighborhood kids over to go down the water slide and have fun on the for his birthday and the 4th of July there. So interested to see how that goes, but as long as they're going to set it up and they're going to haul it away, that's good enough for me. So we'll have somebody in for Noto next week. I'll be here, and we'll talk about the John Deere Classic, one of my favorite events, of course, in just a stone's throw away from where I am here in Western Illinois. So if we don't see you next week, enjoy your holiday. Enjoy this week's tournament as well. And thanks to Steve for producing behind the scenes for us. We appreciate his help as always. For Noto, I'm Justin, and we'll see you later, everybody.